Okay, good day everyone. This is my solution to the Z-transform take-home quiz. So number one, we are tasked to find the inverse Z-transform of x of z is equals 10z over z squared minus z plus 1. For the solution, from this given function, we can see na pwede na to siya ma-manipulate nga ma-achieve na to ang um, Z-transform pair itong nasa line number 9, itong sin an u of n z sin of a over z squared minus 2z cos a plus 1. So to achieve this, first we multiply this by sin a over sin a, which is equal to 1 lang man gyapon na. So para makakame up ta ginani na function. So by multiplying this, we have 10z over z squared minus z plus 1 equals 10 over sin a multiplied by z sin a over z squared minus 2z cos a plus 1. But by letting the negative 2z cos a equal to negative z from this. So to solve for a, we are matching the coefficients of the denominator. So we have z squared minus z plus 1 equals z squared minus 2z cos a plus 1. Canceling this z squared and 1, okay, equate man to siya. So, mabili na lang is negative z equals negative 2z cos a. Then, atong goal is ang a man. So, divide both sides by negative 2z. So, came up with this 1 half equals cos a. So, to take the value of a, we need to take the inverse cosine of 1 half. So we left with a equals pi over 3 since we are in radian mode. So therefore, the inverse z transform of the given function is 10 over sine a multiplied by inverse of z sine a over z squared minus 2z cos a plus 1 equals 10 over sine a multiplied by katong function din sa line 9 sin a n u of n, where ang atong a kay pi over 3. So substitute it, we have 10 over sine pi over 3 multiplied by sine pi over 3 n u of n. Then if ato ni siyang i-calculate, makakame up to 11.5470 sine pi over 3 n u of n. So this is our final answer. So next, the number 2, we're tasked to find the inverse z transform of x of z equals z raised to the power of negative 4 over z minus 1 plus z raised to the power of negative 6 plus z raised to the power of negative 3 over z plus 0.5. So for this function, we can apply the shift theorem katong multiply ta og z kay since z times raised to the times z raised to the power of negative 5 is equal to z raised to the power of negative 4. So, equal ra gyapon. So, inverse z transform of z raised to the power of negative 5 times z over z minus 1 plus z inverse of z raised to the power of negative 6 plus inverse of z raised to the power of negative 4 times z over z plus 0.5. So, by applying the z transform pair from the table line 3, 2, and 6, we came up with this final answer. We have the x of n na rather. X of n equals u of n minus 5 plus the rack of n minus 6 plus negative 0.5 n raised 0.5 raised to n minus 4 u of n minus 4. So this is our final answer. Next, number 3. Find the inverse z transform of x of z equals 1 over 1 minus z raised to the power of negative 1 multiplied by 1 minus 0.5 z raised to the power of negative 1. But first, we multiply both, uh, we multiply the right hand side by z squared over z squared, which is equal to 1 lang mangyapon. To cancel the, to eliminate the negative powers. So z squared over z squared, z squared over z squared, multiplied by 1 minus z raised to the power of negative 1 times 1 minus 0.5 z raised to the power of negative 1. So by applying FOIL method, simple basic algebra, distribute, back. So we came up with this function. Then by simplifying, we have z squared over z squared minus 1.5z plus 0.5. Okay, so we have following function x of z over z equals z squared over z minus 1 z minus 0.5. So nag-divide ita both sides by z. So we have now z over z minus 1 z minus 0.5. So from this function, atong tanawon if proper fraction na ba siya or improper fraction in order for us to proceed the partial fraction. Since we notice na ang degree sa numerator is less than sa degree sa denominator, then we can directly proceed to partial fraction. So by partial fraction, we have x of z over z equals a over z minus 1 plus b over z minus 0.5. Okay, so by partial fraction, we have z over z minus 1 multiplied by z minus 0.5 equals a over z minus 1 plus b over z minus 0.5. So multiplying both sides by the two terms para makancel, then we left with z equals a multiplied by z minus 0.5 plus b z minus 1. So this is our equation 1. So if we let z is equal to 0.5 by using equation 1, manipulate the equation, then we came up with b is equal to negative 1 here. And also, if we let z equals 1, then by using equation 1, we came up with the value of a equal to 2. So with this constant term, with these constants, then masolve na to ang partial fraction. So substitute this, x of z over z equals 2, kay 2 mo to itong nasolve ng a, over z minus 1 plus negative 1 mo to itong bigay na, over z minus 0.5. Multiply this by z, so we left with x of z equals 2z over z minus 1 minus z over z minus 0.5. So, by line 3 and 6, we apply the inverse transform of 2z over z minus 1 minus inverse of z over z minus 0.5. So we left with x of n is equal to 2u of n minus 0.5n u of n. So this is our final answer. Next is for number 4. Find the y of n if y of z equals z squared z plus 1 over z minus 1 multiplied by z squared minus z plus 0.5. First, we multiply both sides by 1 over z. So we have y of z over z equals z multiplied by z plus 1 over z minus 1 multiplied by z squared minus z plus 0.5. So first, we need to solve for the poles of the denominator by equating it to 0. So we have z minus 1 multiplied by z squared minus z plus 0.5 equal 0. So we have z minus 1 equals 0. We have z equals 1. So for this function, dili man na to siya directly ma-factor out. So we need to use the quadratic formula given here. So natay negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. Where ang ato ang a equals 1, ang ato ang b kay negative 1, and ang ato ang c 0.5. So substituting it to the formula, then we come up with this 1 plus minus square root of negative 1 over 2. Ibalo man ta na ang square root of negative 1 is imaginary number. So therefore, we can replace it by j as a representation. So 1 plus minus j over 2. So we have the poles of 1 half plus 1 half j, 1 half minus 1 half j. Okay, so we have now y of z over z equals z of z plus 1 over z minus 1 multiplied by z minus 1 half minus 1 half j multiplied by z minus 1 half plus 1 half j. Okay, so by partial fraction, we have y of z over z equals a over z minus 1 plus b over z minus 1 minus 1 half j plus c over z minus 1 1 half plus 1 half j. Okay, so solving for a, b, and c, we have a is equal to z minus 1 multiplied by y of z. So we have y of z nga kani. So multiply lang daw nato na siya sa z minus a, where ang ato ang z is equal to 1. Okay, so we have z minus 1 multiplied by term nga kaning y of z, whole term nga z. So makancel ang z minus 1. Pa-cancel. Then we left with z of z plus 1 over z minus 1 half minus 1 half j multiplied by z minus 1 half plus 1 half j. So given mata nga ang ato ang z equals 1, so substitute it, then we came up with this a equal to 4. The next one is for the b. Same process. We multiply z minus 1 half minus 1 half j to the whole term y of z over z. Where ang ato ang z na pud karon is 1 half plus 1 half j. Yeah. Okay, so multiplying this, atay z minus 1 half minus 1 half j. So cancel siya pa, cancel. So we're left with z of z plus 1 over z minus 1, z minus 1 half plus 1 half j. So substitute the value of z kani to the function and manipulate it. Use your calculator, then we came up with this answer. B is equal to negative 3 halves minus 1 half j, or in polar form, we have 1.5811 angle of negative 161.5650 degrees. Same goes to C, same process sa B, but we take its conjugate. Since ang C kay, na to, ang C kay, ang iyahang imaginary is opposite sign sa B. Na negative diri sa B, then diri positive. So we take its conjugate, complex conjugate. So complex conjugate of B is negative 3 halves plus 1 half J. Or in polar form, we have 1.5811 angle of 161.5650 degrees. So substituting this value of ABC, we have um, y of z over z equals 4 over z minus 1 plus 1.5811 angle of negative 161.5650 over z minus 1 half minus 1 half j plus 1.5811 angle of 161.5650 degrees over z minus 1 half plus 1 half j. Yeah. Then, we multiply both sides by z para makancel ang z. So, we're left with y of z na lang function. So, by taking its inverse, we have 4 inverse of z over z minus 1 plus 1.5811 angle of negative 161.5650 inverse of z minus 1 plus j over 2 plus 1.5811 angle of 161.5650 z inverse of z over z minus 1 minus j over 2. So our final answer is we have y of n equals 4 u of n plus 1.5811 angle of negative 161.5650 times 1 plus j over 2 raised to the power of n, u of n plus 1.5811 angle of 161.5650 degree multiplied by 1 minus j over 2 raised to the power of n, u of n. So this is our final answer. Okay, so for the last item, we're tasked to find the x of n if x of z equals z squared over z minus 1 multiplied by z minus 0.5 squared. So at first, we multiply both sides by 1 over z. Then we have now x of z over z equals z over z minus 1 multiplied by z minus 0.5 squared. So applying a partial fraction, we have z over z minus 1 multiplied by z minus 0.5 squared equals a over z minus 1 plus, excuse me, b over z minus 0.5 plus z over z minus 0.5 squared. Okay, so multiply the two terms para makancel lang denominator. So we are left with z equals a z minus 0.5 squared plus b multiplied by z minus 1 multiplied by z minus 0.5 plus c multiplied by z minus 1. Okay, so this is our equation number 1. So if we let z equals 0.5 and applying the equation 1, so the a terms cancel, then we're left with z equals z minus 1. So substitute it, we came up with this value of z which is equal to negative 1. Same goes to by letting z equals 1, using equation 1, cancel ang b, cancel ang c, so we're left with z equals a multiplied by z minus 0.5 squared. And substitute the value of z, which is equal to 1, then we came up with this a equal to 4. So since wala naman tayo lain na manipulate pa, but kulang taog b. Atong goal karon is para makuha si b. Okay, so by using this equation 1, we need to expand this using simple algebra. Atong ina-simplify lang na to. So find other equation to solve b. Use equation 1. So by expanding these terms, then apply FOIL method, somehow distribute this z squared minus 0.5 z times negative 0.5. Apply FOIL method and distribute lang. So we came up with this value function z squared minus z plus 0.25 plus b multiplied by z squared minus 1.5z plus 0.5 plus c multiplied by z minus 1. Okay, so ato siyang i-distribute. Distribute diri pag, distribute pag, distribute diri. Same goes here, distribute, distribute, distribute ang b. Same here, c, distribute, distribute. So we came up with this value ng mga equation. So atong i-usa tanan ang na z squared. So we have a plus b. Ora man na z squared. Then same goes here sa z. We have z equal negative a minus negative 1.5 b plus c. So mora may na yung mga z. Then the rest kay mo ng mga constants. So equating this, since atong z squared kay sa left hand side 0 man, so we have equation 2, a plus b equals 0. And then ang ato ang z kay 1 man iyahang quantity 1. So understood na ang ato ang equation 3 kay negative a minus 1.5b plus c equals 1. And equation 4, since ato ang constant here kay wala man tayo lain constant diri so 0 diri, so natay negative 0.25a plus 0.5b minus c equals 0. So natay mga equations, tulo ka equations pa gyud. So mamili ra ta, depende sa to kung imong ganahan di ang pilion para ma-solve nimong b. So para sa ko pilion lang akong equation 2 kay medyo sayon. Okay, to solve for b, use equation 2, which is equal to a plus b equals 0. So, balhin ang a sa pikas, natay b equals negative a. So, substitute na tong value sa a, kay a na to na kay positive 4 man, so we have b equals negative 4. Therefore, ang ato ang x of z over z equals a over z minus 1 plus b over z minus 0.5 plus c over z minus 0.5 squared. We have, substitute lang atong value, ang atong a kay 4, so mo 4. Itong b kay negative 4, c kay negative 1. Then, multiply both sides by z para makancel ang z. So, we're left with x of z equals 4z over z minus 1 minus 4z over z minus 0.5 minus z over z minus 0.5 squared. So applying the z transform pair from the table, we have 4 inverse of z over z minus 1 minus 4 inverse of z over z minus 0.5 minus inverse of z over z minus 0.5. So we multiply 0.05 here, since from the table diri atong table here, table line number 8 kani. So na may a diha az over z minus a squared. So diri sa to ang kuan kay wala man tay a, so we need to multiply kani. We need to multiply 0.5 kay mo na to ang a. So multiply na to na siya. So we have inverse of 0.5z over z minus 0.5 squared multiplied by 1 over 0.5. Therefore, ang ato ang inverse transform is equal to 4 u of n minus 4 multiplied by 0.5 raised to the power of n u of n minus 2n 0.5 raised to the power of n u of n. So this is our final answer. Okay, so thank you. That's all.